Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Pacho. Do you read me?
Pacho, this is Com Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence the field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. I say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. Hurrah. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Another week has gone down. Friday night's eve, baby Friday. Goddamn, it's almost the weekend. Hey, we got a really great show for today, and we got an amazing guest. We're going to talk about something near and dear to everybody's military hearts is fitness. But before we get started, let's get all the pleasantries out of the way. Hey, when was the last time you took a healthy look at where is that you stand financially? In other words, is how are you doing now that you post-service? Where do you consider yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 financially? Are you putting money away for later on in life to set you up for success? Because life can happen, and that military money may and can possibly dry up with the reallocation and many things with veteran and administration changes. That too. So the point here is, folks, is that you want to implement strategies that I can help you with. I can help you put things together that not only will protect you, it'll protect your family, protect your assets, and protect your finances. So conversation's free. You can send me a direct message right here on social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and just about anywhere on the show. And you can throw the comment saying, hey, I want more info. And we just have a conversation. If it's a good fit and I can help, great. If not, no, it's okay. All right. No pressure, no commitment. All right. So, and in addition to that, when was the last time you took a healthy look at where is it you stand on your VA claims and benefits? If you're not at 100% and you want to take a look at that, I can help. I can show you and teach you how to put your claim together if you're just starting for the first time. Or I can help you put the language together that talks VA language so that you may be at 30% and it may get you to 40%, or you may be at 70% and we may get you to 100. I mean, I don't guarantee those results, but something is better than nothing. A little bit of an increase can drastically help. So if you want to have that conversation, you can hit me. My link tree is on the show. Book a free 1-hour strategy session. It usually takes about an hour, and we can go from there. Okay, because these are your benefits, and you've earned them. You gave your body, mind, soul, and spirit to this to the core and to this nation of ours. You should get what's yours. So again, if it makes sense, let me help you and let me show you how it can be done. All right. And look, by the way, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Support my show. I do this completely out of my own pocket. Actually, I don't get compensated for it. So, but if you can help the analytics, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you don't like this sexy accent, then you can check out something from SitchRadio.com. Brian Coburn has other amazing shows on there and on his platform that you can also check out. So, because in this show, we're all about the Constitution, freedom of speech, right to bear arms, and we can agree to disagree. And if not, then that's okay too. So subscribe, like, and follow. All right. So that's pretty much it. All the pleasantries from, our show. So here's what we're going to talk about today. In today's episode, I'm going to talk with this amazing guest. He's a former chiropractor. Now he's a fitness coach, Mr. Hermann Diehl, to talk about something very, very important that us veterans, means a lot to us. So as we age, that athlete within us usually phases out a little bit. And so we want to talk about how to stay strong, healthy, and capable as we get older, because, we all will. And so for more than 2 decades, Hermann has been, not only studying the body, but also nutrition, exercise, and performance. So he brings a very practical perspective. I'm subscribed to his Substack. He puts out some really amazing content as well. And but he also teaches us to train smarter and not just harder. So we're going to talk about fitness after 40. You know, I'm in my 50s now, so we're going to talk about how to prevent injury, how to diet or eat better, that this whole testosterone culture, and how to recover properly and then improve your energy, cognition. So it's not just about having a six pack or gimmicks or social media. It's about longevity, capability, and basically maintaining that warrior mindset without destroying your body as a whole in the process. Does that make sense? So with that being said, everybody, let's welcome Mr. Hermann Diehl to the show. What's going on, Hermann? How are you, buddy?
Doing well. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, it's an honor, buddy. As a matter of fact, what I should include on here is that we met at a networking event that here in South Florida, and when I looked at you, and I mean even right now, I mean when I look at you, I thought you were like in your mid-30s, well composed dude and everything else, but later on, which I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I mean, you don't appear what your current age is. So tell us a little bit about you.
I'm going to be 57 in July 4th, which I think this July, yes, it's the 250th anniversary. So that's when I'll turn 57, 250th anniversary for the United States. And I'll turn 57 on that day as well. But it's proper eating, exercise, but it's more diet. One of the things that a lot of common mistake that men over 40 make is that they think they can do and eat like they did in their 20s. And probably the most common theme is that you think, and I would argue, especially a lot of men in the military, and also men who have had an athletic background. I did play 1 year of college football, but I wasn't good enough to really play college level. I sat the bench the whole year, but in high school I was pretty good. But the point is that you think you can, but I can lift this weight and I can do this. And as you get older, maybe you can, but you probably shouldn't, because you end up getting hurt. And then eating is the same thing. We think we can eat like we used to, not realizing that as we get older, you really need to adjust how you eat big time.
But before we get in, and I know those are some of the talking points that I want to talk to you about. So how did you were 20 plus years studying the human body. So what made you shift into coaching and fitness, after being a chiropractor first? Or how did you get started as a chiropractor and then shifted along those ways?
Yeah, I became a chiropractor young. I was 20 years old when I got into chiropractic school. I rushed in because at that time they were about to come out with a law where they require a bachelor's degree before you get into chiropractic school. So I was able to get in before that became a law, was grandfathered in. And then I became a chiropractor fairly young, worked for 22 years. And then I made a mistake. I worked for a clinic that in West Palm Beach, as you all know, in Florida, there's a lot of auto accident cases. And unfortunately, I worked in a clinic that was training the patients what to tell me. And they were basically committing major fraud. And what ended up happening was 4 years later, the FBI came to my house. I worked in that clinic for 8 months, and then I left. Should have known better to not really stay there for 8 months. I should have left after a month or two, but I didn't. I stayed for 8 months. And then the FBI comes to my house and visits me 4 years later, and they ask me questions, and I talk to them truthfully. And that hurt me because they basically saw that as a confession. I didn't see it that way. So anyway, they then indict me. I speak to my attorney. I asked my attorney. My attorney asked me, "Did you ever know there was fraud?" I mean, I suspected it, but I never knew. I never had a conversation. Did they ever text you? Did they ever call you? Did a patient ever tell you anything about fraud? And I'm like, no. And he's like, maybe you should fight it. But if you fight it and you lose, you're going to get a lot more prison time. And that's what ended up happening. I go to trial. There's 2 other chiropractors there. We all fight it. We all lose. We all went to prison. So that's part of, my journey. In prison, I really got into fitness because it was a way for me to escape the situation I was in. And in federal prison now, they actually do not allow you to lift weights. Some older prisons have weights that were there since the 1990s, but I believe it was in the 90s or the early 2000s, they made like weightlifting illegal in federal prison. So a lot of people because I was always in a prison camp, a lot of times they would sneak in things like bands, and I started really working out with bands, and it was very effective. And I really realized the value of bands, how much safer it is than lifting the heavy weights. Because when I was a chiropractor, I would often see men, especially in their 40 and older, they would come in and they hurt their shoulder, they hurt their back trying to do a deadlift, a shoulder press with a lot of weight. And if you use a band, it's just way, way safer.
Right.
And better, because, for example, if you're doing a bench press, okay, so when you're doing a bench press, you think you're getting to muscle failure when you get to that point that maybe you need a spot, but you're not really at muscle failure, because all you're doing with the weight is that you are getting out of your weak zone. Because when you first push here, this is considered to be the weak zone. Same thing if you're doing a standing overhead press. Right at the beginning, that's the weak zone. We get stronger as our arm stretches out. You're like 4 to 5 times stronger when your arm is stretched out more as opposed to here. So when you lift the weight and you can't go any further, you didn't really hit muscle failure. You just hit an area you just couldn't get out of your weak zone. However, with the band, it's variable resistance. So when I'm here in the beginning, the resistance is less. As my arm gets stronger, the band gets harder. So the band goes with the human body's resistance. It's better, it's safer, and you get true muscle failure, which is really what activates big time muscle growth. And that's why one of the things I recommend with my clients is that, you only need to do one set. So I have what I call the 151 protocol, and the 5 in the 5 in the 151 protocol means that you're only doing 5 exercises. You're doing compound movements. On a push day, you're going to be doing 1 straight out. Then you're going to go to a leg exercise for the quads, then 1 straight up, then another leg exercise for the quads, and then 1 straight down, usually a dip. And those 5 exercises, you just need to do 1 set to muscle failure. It takes you about 15 or 20 minutes, and you're done. And that's just a great, ideal way to keep the time short, yet effective. And because you're doing 1 set, only 1 set to failure, then you're able to work out more frequently, 5 to 6 times a week, as opposed to just 3 or 4, because you need so much recovery because you're doing multiple sets. Since we're only doing 1 set, you can work out 5 or 6 days a week. So it's just an effective method.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were, going through some hardships, and by the way, we all make mistakes, you know what I'm saying? But so this new door opened up for you, and now you made this transition into fitness. Obviously, a lot of the audience that I had that watch or consume the show are in the military, and a lot of us find ourselves, because we come from that mindset. I'm telling you, because I lived it for many, many years when I was younger. Gotta hit the gym, friggin', run it out. If it hurts, drink some Motrin. Take some Motrin and go out there and just hit the bench, because it's all about pride. And and so we get out. So why kind of tying it a little bit to veterans, or even anybody? Why do veterans or people struggle with fitness after they were so high impact in an environment that they were very athletic, or they were in the service? Why do people, can you give me just,
it's simple. It's like It's like a college football player, same thing as someone who's in the Marines or the Army. You're taught to be tough. You have a higher amount of testosterone naturally in you. You want to tough it out. And that's natural when you're 18 to 22 years old to 25, then the testosterone starts to slowly but surely dip a little bit. And it's just natural. When you have more testosterone, you're going to want to fight through it. You're going to want to go through the pain. And let's face it, for our brave Marines and the military, do we want them to have that mindset? Of course. If you're in battle, you're going to have to put up with pain, or you very well may need to put up with pain, and you need to persevere without question. I think we all want that, and that's sort of understood. But when you're a man 40 plus and the military's behind you, there's no need to continue with that philosophy. There's no need to continue with that. So that's why that philosophy can and should change as we get older. And that happens naturally because our testosterone also starts to decline as we get older. That being said, testosterone can still be fairly high if you eat the right foods, get enough sunlight, exercise. I'm having been a chiropractor for 22 years. I believe in doing things naturally. I believe that the vast majority of men do not need to take testosterone. If you eat properly, you can often avoid the need for testosterone. And that's where I guess we're going to talk a little bit about diet, because, I've been studying diets basically my whole life, my 22 years while I was a chiropractor. And then when I was in prison, I read a lot of books on diets. So I've seen I have had phases in my life where I was more like a pescatarian or vegetarian. I would only eat meat like as a last or I would eat meat for dinner, but not during the day. During the day, I was basically all fruits and vegetables. And then I read books in prison like Wheat Belly, Grain Brain. When you find out what the wheat in this country, it's just not good for you, which is why gluten-free is so popular here in the United States. But yeah, diet ends up making the biggest impact, because let's be real, Pacho, most guys that that are 40 plus, they have their weight here. Their weight is here. And what ends up happening is the arms get thinner, the legs get thinner, and then they grow in their midsection. That's extremely common. And so there's ways to naturally reverse this. And a big part of that is eating the right diet. We have to eat the right diet. And a big part of that is knowing that what you think was healthy is not so healthy. And so that's why I'm going to talk a little bit about, for example, this book, Toxic Superfoods. Okay, this book talks about how certain foods like vegetables, like spinach, for example, which everyone thinks is super healthy. It's not. Spinach is very high in a toxin called oxalates. And oxalates end up causing 70 to 80% of kidney stones. And so where everyone thinks that vegetables are super healthy, they're really not. Think about this. A vegetable wants to live. If an animal knows it's going to be killed, the animal will try to run or bite. Animals will do that. What can vegetables do? Vegetables can't do anything but make a bitter taste and fight you chemically. Now, fruit is different. Fruit, you take an apple from the tree, the seeds are in there. The tree is happy because now you're going to help distribute those seeds. So the tree is sort of using you for sex. You are helping the tree reproduce by either spitting out the seed or eating it and pooping it out and spreading it.
Yeah,
that's
that
what
makes sense.
it wants. Which is why fruit is sweet. Vegetables are different. Vegetables are also living, but that's why they have a bitter taste. That's why often you have to cook vegetables, and vegetables will fight you not to be eaten. And a lot of vegetables are just not as healthy as people think. And so that's a big problem.
No, and because and that's one. So why do so many diets? And because you led me to what we're going to talk. Obviously diets and trends and what actually matters and works. So why do you think so many people diets fail? What is the because I'll be honest. I mean, the thing that gets me. And by the way, I was on that bandwagon, like, oh, gotta eat oatmeal. I was eating, no kidding. I did this for a year, and I just found myself kind of getting more bloated. I was eating old-fashioned oatmeal. This is my breakfast for the last year. A cup of oatmeal, old-fashioned, two spoons of crushed flaxseed, 2 spoons of chia, and 2 spoons of psyllium husk, and bananas, and because I was thinking I was being healthy, getting a bunch of grain, whatever,
And you would still feel bloated often.
oh yeah, and I've been a vegetarian since 2018. It's just, but I don't feel like I'm getting smaller. But why do so many diets or fail, or any of these fads that, hey, try this shit now?
Yeah, well, you said it, because they're fats. Because like the whole idea of superfood, the idea of a superfood, it was started way back in the 1920s. Forgot which company, a Central American company, had an overproduce of bananas.
Chiquita.
Okay, I mean, literally, this is how the word superfood got started. An overabundance of bananas, and they're like, okay, what can we do? We have so many. We have an oversupply. Excuse me. You have an oversupply of bananas. What can we do? So they talked to a few doctors, and doctors looked at the makeup of bananas. Well, there's some vitamins and minerals here. We can promote it as, we can say it's a superfood, and we'll say it's healthy for you and that you should eat bananas. Yeah, great. Please do that. Help us. Help us. We need to sell more bananas. And that's how the term superfood got started. People weren't eating that many bananas, but then they started eating a whole lot more because people thought it's just healthier, better for you. And it's okay. A banana is better than a piece of cake, than artificial ingredients. It's still basically a whole food, but it's not as healthy, I would argue, and a lot of other people argue, as animal products, meat, chicken, fish, beef. And that's where this book I like to talk about, because I like to show people that, hey, I'm not crazy. The other day I'm showing a client and he's like, wait a second, you mean vegetables are not good for me? What? He thought I was from another planet. And this is why sometimes I like to show these books. Like, look, I'm not the only one who's saying this. This here was a Harvard graduate, PhD. He wrote the book Catching Fire. This came out in the 90s, very popular. And like it says here, how cooking made us human. Okay, what this book literally talks about is what's called the expensive tissue hypothesis. Okay, just like evolution, within evolution, there's a thing called the expensive tissue hypothesis. As ape-like beings, we used to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. And then what ended up happening was, once we started controlling fire, we were able to use that fire to scare off bigger predators than us, get to their meat, cook it. By cooking it, we killed a lot of the germs and bacteria, which then allowed us to digest it and eat it. See, because a dog, for example, which is a pure carnivore. Remember, us humans, we're omnivores, but we thrive. We're healthier when we eat like a carnivore diet. And here's one reason why. Our pH is very low, much more similar to that of a carnivore. But pure carnivores like dogs and cat, their body temperature is like 102 naturally. We're 98.6. On top of that, a dog's pH, acidic, the acid they have in their stomach is even stronger than ours. We have low acidic. We can digest meat very well, but not as well as like a dog or a cat.
Right.
Which is why a dog and a cat can eat a piece of meat that's been sitting out there for 3 days in the hot sun, full of germs and bacteria. They eat it, they'll probably be fine. We eat it, we'll get sick. But because we started controlling fire and we cooked that meat, now that killed the germs and bacteria. That allowed our stomach to shrink more, making it more suitable for carnivore diet. And that allowed our brain to grow, because digestion and brain take up a lot of energy. So what allowed our brain to grow is because we started eating cooked meat. We started controlling fire and eating cooked meat. So what's the healthiest food a human being can eat? Cooked meat. And not just meat from beef, but from buffalo, lamb, really any animal, chicken, pork. It's all good as long as it's an animal. That's the ideal diet that humans should be consuming, at least the vast majority of the time. And that's really the underlying pillar, foundational to our health, that helps us improve, that helps us have more testosterone naturally. Because remember, testosterone is made out of fat. And when you eat the meat, you're also digesting the fat, the healthy fats that come with the meat. So this is a good thing. We need to eat the fat. And once your body adapts to burning fat for fuel, then you go into ketosis and you're able to burn the fat off of your own body. And that's really that's really how I help my clients. I help them get on a ketogenic, animal-based carnivore diet, and then we implement some fasting, and then the weight just comes off. It's as simple as that.
It's funny that you mentioned testosterone, and natural health. And in a day and age where you see all kinds of commercials with the Ozempics, the TRT treatments. I mean, there's a fellow Marine on social media, and God bless him, but he's a huge advocate for don't get treatment from the VA, won't cover it, yada yada yada. Let me help you. Again, nothing against them, but why are so many, not just men, but just people as a whole, why are we chasing so many shortcuts? And how can men or people improve naturally after 40 in a healthy manner to basically continue and not decline on their hormones and everything?
Yeah, we're looking for shortcuts because we think things like, but beans have protein. Beans are healthy. Not really. First of all, beans might have 10 to 12 grams of protein to every 20 to 30 of carbohydrates. So you're still ingesting more carbohydrates. And all carbohydrates do is they end up becoming sugar. So see, you can always say rice and beans is healthy compared to junk food. Yeah, it's healthier than junk food, but it's still not the ideal. It's still not an egg, meat, chicken, fish. It's not that either. So, and this is where people are confused. So if you're still eating, if you're eating every day for dinner, like a chicken salad, and you think you're healthy, okay, this is what most men 40 plus, they're eating a chicken salad. This is great. First of all, here's what's happening. You're eating the salad with the chicken. The salad is going to produce alkaline gastric juices to digest the salad. The chicken is going to produce acidic gastric juices. When you combine them two, it gives you a sensation of feeling full. I like to call salad like filler food. Certain salads like romaine is better than spinach because spinach is very high in oxalates. Romaine would actually be a little bit less harmful. But what does it do? It just takes up space. So now you only eat about 30 grams of protein, where if you didn't have the salad, if you just would have eaten the chicken, you would eat the chicken, you'd still be like, I'm hungry. So you eat more chicken. Now you get 60, 70 grams of protein. Now you're getting enough protein, which means if you're working out, you're able to build muscle because protein is what helps you build muscle. And as we get older, we don't absorb the protein as well as we did when we were younger. So we need more protein. So when you're younger, eating a chicken salad, you're going to be fine. When you're in your 20s, your testosterone is very high. You're doing exercise, you're good. When you're in your 40s, your testosterone is lower. Even if you are doing exercise, now you can't take advantage of it because you're not getting enough protein. When you were younger, it was enough. Now that you're older, it's not. And that's the big issue. And so now you're looking for a shortcut. For example, GLP-1 drugs. I did a whole webinar on GLP-1 drugs versus natural diet. A carnivore ketogenic diet, a GLP-1, all it's doing is copying a carnivore ketogenic diet. Because one of the things that the GLP-1 drug does is it slows digestion. Well, what do you think when you eat a lot of meat? What do you think happens? Digestion slows down. Takes longer for the body to digest all that fat and meat. Digestion slows down. You don't go to the bathroom as often. And that's part of what helps you lose weight. GLP-1 drugs say that, oh, that's one of the benefits. Well, you get that naturally from a ketogenic carnivore diet. Then the GLP-1 often talk about, oh, but it's so good for the brain. People feel better. And they're also getting happier since they're on Ozempic and this shit. Well, the carnivore ketogenic diet helps your brain function better because your brain, when you take out the water, it's 60% fat. Remember, like this book said, our brain grew. The power that made the body heals the body. Our brain grew because we started eating cooked meat, because we started using fire to cook our food. That's what literally made our brain grow. So don't be surprised when you're on a carnivore diet and you can think better. Anxiety decreases. Here's another book, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind, from a Harvard-trained psychiatrist. She's basically saying that all psychologists, one of the first things they should do instead of prescribing more therapy and more drugs is first, just get on a carnivore diet, get on a ketogenic diet. Your brain is going to function better. Your anxiety and your depression may go down. So people don't know this. People don't know this. People forget that we live in a capitalistic society, that, there's tons of money in the diabetes industry. The truth is diabetes is basically reversible, at least type 2 is. If you got diabetes, it can be completely reversed in most cases if you just change your diet. The thing is that most doctors will say, oh, but keep eating your fruits and vegetables. I'm arguing, no, do not eat the fruit and vegetables. Let's get you on a pure carnivore ketogenic diet. And over time, that diabetes is probably going to go away. Not all the time. It's not a cure-all, but most of the time it does. It's been reversed in many, many people already. So people don't know this.
So I'm from my personal concern. I stopped eating meat because I told you the story. I had a friend of a friend who basically ate some tainted meat, and he was given 6 months to live, and because he got the human version of mad cow with disease. So I know that here, because I was born and raised in Colombia. When you eat a cow out, and even in Europe, because when we travel to Europe, the meat, if you compare a piece of chicken to a piece of chicken here in the U.S. is plumpy, it's white, and when you cook it, it's just nothing but water. You get this residual. So what my concern was, okay, I don't want to eat any, meat that's been pumped up with steroids and all this other shit that it's illegal outside of the U.S., but they feed it to us. So that was and I thought I was being healthy. And, to be quite honest, since 2018, I've seen no correlation in the change to my, I got high cholesterol. It's in like the 240s. It's always been like that. But I just had another calcium eval. It's 0. So, so that was my concern. And I thought I was being healthy by not eating the meat. So that's just that's been my concern. So I guess what would
the problem
in a short answer.
Yeah. The problem with what you're saying is, it's true. But that's true with vegetables. The vegetables in the United States are going to have more pesticides.
Yeah, you're true. Yeah, that's a
whether
great argument.
Meat or vegetables or whatever you eat, the reality is the U.S. is way more lax. The U.S. has like 20,000 food preservatives that we can include, and that's one of the things I teach my clients is that what to avoid when you go to the store. What ingredients exactly should you avoid? In the Europe, there's like 400. Their philosophy is you're guilty until proven innocent. In the U.S., you came out with something new that makes the food last longer. Oh, yeah, we're a big country. It needs to go from California all the way to Miami. Yeah, fine, use it. I mean, it doesn't, you know, they don't do any scientific research to see if it is harmful in any way. In Europe, you have to prove that the food ingredient is totally safe. And so that's a big difference. Now, still, with that being said, you know, if you want to go, I mean, I don't always do this, but you can buy grass-fed, grass-finished beef, which is healthier. And you can buy these things. And a lot of people would argue, and it makes sense to me too, I'd rather eat a piece of meat that's been maybe injected with hormones, or where the cow ate corn and wheat its whole life, which is not the ideal. But I'd rather eat that, because often the cow can put the toxins and poison in the fat. And that's why I always tell my clients, when you're eating meat, if the fat is not tasting good, then cut it out and don't eat it. You know, you got to listen to your own body. And if you're eating the fat and it doesn't taste good, you just, you know, you cut around if it's a ribeye, you cut, which most people do this anyway, you cut the fat out and that's it. If it's a grass-fed, grass-finished beef, then there'll be less toxins in the fat. But I'd rather eat that than a vegetable that just got sprayed with pesticides, and I'm going to be ingesting that. So it's all relative, you know.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, bro. Why is it, and good points, because when you're like, oh, yeah, well, shit, yeah, because, you know, what do I eat? Do I eat the steroids or do I eat well, I don't want to name any company names because they might come after the show like, hey, you fucking name it. But, you know, eat the pesticides and that create superbugs and shit. So, but as we getting ready to wrap up, man, this is a really good topic. I mean, we may have to do like a two-parter on this shit. So how can someone realistically start improving their health today?
Yeah, what I'd like to, it's mindset. It's knowing that you're making the right decision by transitioning into a diet that's literally made for humans. It's what made us human. So part of my job, and it's why I left one-on-one training, personal one-on-one training. I got into online training, which means that I can train people all over the United States, and in Canada, we do Zoom meetings and I train them. And the big part of this is the mindset. Once you understand how important it is, not just to lose weight, but for health, to live longer, to think better, to have a better sex life. Some people even claim their hair grows more. You know, the thing is that eating well is foundational. Other people claim that they don't get sunburnt like they used to since they've been on a ketogenic carnivore diet. And all these things sounds weird, but when you think about it, it's not so weird, because the diet, your body is constantly reproducing itself. Cells are dying, new cells are coming in. So if you eat right, which is why I say it's 80% what you eat and only 20% exercise. It's 80% diet. If you want to lose the weight, if you want to have the muscle, it's 80% diet. It's not exercise. I know we want to think it's the exercise, but it's not. It's 80% diet. So you got to change your diet. And that's where me, you know, showing them the evidence, that's where I can get people to change their mindset. And then it becomes easier. Oh, instead of eating this piece of cake, let me eat another egg. Let me eat some cheese. Let me eat some pork rinds. Instead of eating this salad, let me eat this piece of chicken, this fish. Like that. Oh, pork rinds, but were they cooked in pork fat or were they cooked in vegetable oils? Very important question, because if they're cooked in vegetable oils, then you're not helping yourself at all. If they're cooked in pork fat, now good. So these little details, you know, learning how to read labels, this all becomes critical. And yeah, that's what it's all about.
I mean, no, this is some gold nuggets. One last thing. Is it good to use olive oil, avocado oil? I remember as a kid growing up, I think you and I talked about it. My grandmother had a tub. It was this metal can and it had a pig on it. It's called manteca, or pork lard. I grew up with that. And back then people were super healthy, all that stuff. So But getting back to it, so are those healthy? I know canola oil and the other, I know that shit, that's a byproduct of industrial vehicle oil.
Yeah.
Are those oils okay? Yes.
Well, okay. Avocado, in my opinion, is the healthiest fruit. Avocado's a fruit because it has that big seed inside. Because avocado has about 22 grams of fat and only about 13 carbohydrates. So, you know, if you're going to continue to eat a fruit for the rest of your life, the healthiest fruit I would say is an avocado. So avocado oil is okay. I know that olive oil, after a certain temperature, I'm not 100% sure. I think it's 350. But after a certain temperature, it's not ideal for cooking. It becomes not so healthy. So what I use when I cook, I often use ghee, which is butter, but clarified without the lactose in it.
Let me write this shit down.
Yeah, GHEE. That's what I use when I cook ghee.
Okay.
And yeah, I would say that ghee, beef tallow, and butter are the healthiest. But avocado and olive oil, it's not far behind. I wouldn't say it's as healthy. Just be careful with the olive oil at high temperatures. That's the main thing. Olive oil, they say, is better. Like if you're going to eat a salad, which for me, that's filler food. I don't eat salads anymore. But if you want to put olive oil on a salad, that's fine. It's when you use the olive oil to cook too much that's not good. Olive oil sometimes I get because I like to get my sardine cans. I eat sardines.
I love sardines, man.
Yeah, sardines are great. I mean, and I prefer to get them in water, but when they don't have them in water, I'll get it in olive oil. And
olive oil.
Yeah, because it's not being heated, so that's fine there. Yeah.
So as we get, man, this has been a really good fucking show. So closing thought, and what's the biggest mindset shift people need to make, and where can people come and find you to seek you out and get all those these golden nuggets and more?
Yeah, I would say that just remember that probably the best is what I call the first law of longevity. You have an innate intelligence, okay, meaning your body adapts you to what you do and what you eat. So if you've been eating vegetables your whole life, and maybe now you're realizing maybe that's not the healthiest thing, and you want to reintroduce meat, a more meat-centric diet, then you need to do it slowly because your body has adapted to digesting the vegetables. And yes, I eat spinach. My stomach gets bloated. Some people eat spinach, doesn't affect them at all. You know, their body has learned how to handle the oxalates and whatnot, and some people handle it better. But so remembering that your body has an innate intelligence, it adapts. And if you get your body to adapt to a meat-centric diet, you're likely going to live longer. You're going to be healthier. So I would say that's the main thing to know. And in terms of getting in touch with me, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Like my name says there, Hermann with 2 N's at the end, J Diehl, Diehl. I also recently got the URL for over40ezfit.com. That's just a very basic website that I have set up now, but you can find me there. And then even better, my newsletter, subconsciousfat.com. That's a free newsletter. And I think you're going to show a link here. I would encourage people, click on the link and maybe book a call with me. And I can talk to you about your health and fitness. And then that way I can send you information that's going to be relevant to you. Because I know for some guys, it's more about, they don't want to lose weight. They want to gain muscle. A lot of guys, okay, how can I have a time efficient workout? And I literally have a 10-minute workout that I start some of my clients with, most of my clients on. It's only 10 minutes. I mean, you start a stopwatch and at 10 minutes, you're done. And so I can send you that information. And other guys are more about the diet. Okay, how can I improve my diet? And so that's where having a conversation would be great. And then that way I can send over the best information that's relevant to each person. Yeah.
Man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. I know we've been trying to link it up and everything else, but Well, definitely this, we're gonna have to put a pin on this because for times constraints in the studio. But we are definitely going to bring you back because I want to dive. I mean, I had other segments that we wanted to go on, but I just kind of let the show go because the information you were pouring, I mean, you were spitting out some mad rhymes and knowledge. So it's all good, brother. But thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for what you do, brother. We'll definitely bring you back. So with that being said, like we said in the field up, hoorah, get some, bud. What an amazing individual. Look, I am subscribed on his, he puts out a lot of good content, not only on Instagram, you can check out his page. I highly recommend that you subscribe to Herman's Substack. I am on it. You know, if you don't want to doom scroll and do all that, and by the way, I started putting out some content too on Substack just to expand on some of the ways that I help out veterans and just some other materials and what I do in the finance and VA claim. But Herman does got, I mean, a lot of good gouge. I mean, I highly recommend it. I mean, my man, you know, started in the medical field and then he transitioned onto this. I mean, he knows the body. Who else to get the information from than from somebody that studied the body all these years? And I mean, I shit you not, the dude, he says he's 57, but when you meet him in person, the guy looks like he's in his mid 30s. I mean, and I mean that with in the most manliest, no homo way that I can say that. Anyways, folks, look, listen, I think this is a great place to end the show. If you're ruminating, if you've been kind of going, you know, going down that dark hole, maybe you're not exercising too much. Maybe you're not getting enough diet. Maybe you need to talk to Herman, but just, you know, or talk to somebody. The last thing we need to do is for you to, you know, make a stupid decision that you can't come back from. And then those of us who are left behind asking the questions, you know, that because shitty times are temporary and tough times don't last. Only tough people do. So stick around. Give me a show. Give me a shout out. We can have that conversation. So with that being said, everybody, I think this is a good place to end this. So, Ice Tomas, Daisuke, Ara, get some. See you next week, everybody. Bye-bye.